The Carnivortex, the Carnivortex. How did I get sucked into this Carnivortex? The Carnivortex, the Carnivortex. How did I get sucked into this Carnivortex? Beef, butter, bacon, eggs, eat fatty meat. Sounds great! The Carnivortex, the Carnivortex. How did I get sucked into this Carnivortex? The Carnivortex, the Carnivortex. Just give it a shot and you'll be carnivore next.
Welcome, everybody. It's another episode of the Carnivortex. I am NoCarbBarb, and I, along with the HighFatCats, who are my managers, editors, and producers, bring you another exciting show. And today we have a very special guest, Mr. Adam Lacy. And Adam, for those who don't know you, will you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Barb, for having me on the Carnivortex. I love the name. It's absolutely amazing. But I love the fact that your cats are your producers. I wish I could get mine to do some of that work. Maybe I have to bribe them, maybe with a little bit of mice or something. I don't know. But
Yeah, treats help,
right.
but it's still, the treats don't make them non-judgmental. I mean, they are always in my business and they let me know when they don't like what I'm doing.
Well, I love it. So, yeah, like you said, my name's Adam Lacy. I am Assistant Director for Healing Humanity, the Power of a Proper Human Diet documentary. I have a YouTube channel, Carnivore Today. I have been carnivore for almost 1,000 days now, and I've had tremendous health benefits from this way of eating, and I'd be happy to share that and just dig into that a little bit more as we get in the conversation.
Yes, and the Healing Humanity documentary would not be happening without you. Just thank you for all you're doing with that. I hope that everyone who's listening to this is familiar with Healing Humanity. If you're not, go on YouTube, check it out on the internet, healinghumanity.movie. Is that right?
That's right.
And we can talk about that later, but I'm super excited about it. And I think that it's a really wonderful thing. So on the Carnivortex, Adam, because I haven't really given him a heads up on this. So he's being very kind and being willing to subject himself to this. But every week we have a topic. And this week, the topic is Dain-Bramaged. Now, I
Okay.
know that sounds a little off, and I've got to preface this. So I did not come up with this term. This term actually originated for me with my junior year in high school chemistry teacher, Miss Blanchard. Now, she was really smart, but she also had a blonde streak, and she was blonde, and she just loved to just give a bunch of information out and then kind of cock her head to the side and say, Bramage. So that left a lasting impact on me. I learned more from that than I did the actual chemistry class. I got banned from the lab. I tended to break things and blow things up. So anyway, but she stuck with me, and that Dain-Bramaged did stick. And so one of the reasons that I think that came up for me is that I understand in your past, you've had a traumatic brain injury. And so I wanted to hear your story about that. But I also wanted to talk about Dain-Bramaged just from the standpoint of, we kind of are Dain-Bramaged to some people because we eat this carnivore way, and that's really different. And just want to talk about that and the different kinds of ways that maybe we're Dain-Bramaged about all kinds of things, and just have an open discussion about that, and we'll see where it goes. But first of all, could you tell everyone about your experience with that injury and what happened?
Absolutely. And I love the topic. Obviously, this is one of the things that I'm very passionate about. It's the main reason why I was inspired to help Carrie with the documentary, because of the profound changes that I've seen in my life in regards to brain damage. And I'll be honest with you, Barb, I never thought that this was ever going to be possible, the results that I've seen. So let's rewind back to 2017. And I was involved in a major car crash on a major highway entering into the city of Dayton on the way to work. I was doing a controls engineering job at the time, about 7 o'clock in the morning, typical morning, nothing new, ran into traffic. that was actually stopped, completely stopped on the highway, and was sort of going downhill into the city. And I came to a stop, and two other people came to a stop behind me. And well, the semi that was behind them, 53-foot semi loaded with a full load of steel, did not even hit his brakes. So the reports are that he was potentially, playing on his phone or something and just didn't pay attention. And he smashed into the first four cars in line that were stopped. And I was the third in line. And unfortunately, the first person in line, it was a fatality. And even at third person in line, I had a huge truck, a big 4x4 Super Crew, long bed F-150. And I was told that my truck actually went up the retaining wall and then came back down. So that's how violent this crash was. It was pretty intense. Like, the only thing I actually remember from this crash is looking in my rearview mirror and seeing this coming, and I'm like, well, there's no way this truck's going to stop. And then I just seen pieces and parts flying like slow motion, like the Matrix. And that's the last thing I remember. The next thing I remember was on my way to the hospital in the ambulance, and I got all kinds of scans and things like that, and had lots of issues from that point forward with dizziness, massive headaches. The dizziness was so bad. I had balance issues that if I closed my eyes standing up, I would fall over. It was that bad. You're talking about somebody that when I was growing up, I was a second degree black belt in Taekwondo. I was brown sash in Kung Fu. So I had impeccable balance, right? And to be able to experience this, it was depressing, to say the least, because it was something that was totally out of my control. It wasn't something that, I was being foolish, reckless driving, or whatever I call it myself. This was something that was totally out of my control. So at any rate, each day I would have issues with headaches, massive migraines. I could maybe go 2 hours before I'd have to go to sleep and try to sleep it off with the migraines. If I'd walk down long corridors or try to go to the mall, just that sort of like tunnel, I would get vertigo effects and dizzy and essentially fall over. I'd have to hold on to my wife at the time and, keep myself from falling. Situations in large crowds, if there was people talking, there was too much talking going on, I couldn't handle it cognitively. And I would get dizzy and vertigo from that. And I'd have to actually leave. I'd have motor tics as if I had Tourette's syndrome. So my head would jerk uncontrollably once I'd get in this state where my brain was overloaded. And obviously all of this stuff is, if you're not used to it and all of a sudden it happens and you can't control it, it just added to my depression and anxiety, which honestly before that it wasn't too bad, but that just made things 1,000 times worse because the frustration level of not being 100%, not being able to perform your duties, not being able to go to work. I was on 2-hour days with my engineering job, and then to 4 hours and 6 hours and 8 hours. And even still, once I was able to get to 8 hours, I was completely spent after that 8 hours. So essentially the day was done. So it took a long time to where I could actually get to a point where I could function somewhat normally. But the doctors told me that this was permanent, that I would likely live with this for the rest of my life. I went to 2 years of speech therapy, 2 years of occupational therapy, 2 years of physical therapy to try to help this. And I don't know if it helped or not. I mean, it felt like it did at the time, but honestly, I feel like in retrospect, it might have just been I was giving my body some nutrients during that time, and it was allowing my brain to heal and remap those neural pathways in my brain. So, but at any rate, before I started the carnivore diet, it was 6 years of this. Okay. So it was permanent, right? 2 years of therapy. I gave up on that. So 4 years of just living with it. Like, this is it. And then lo and behold, I started the carnivore diet and things started to improve. So I don't know where you want to go from here, but,
Yeah, I mean, I just can't imagine what that was like from going from somebody who was highly successful, fit, all of that, to suddenly in one event, then all of that is gone. And now you're told that you've got this condition that's permanent, that you're never going to get better. What was that like hearing that?
It was extremely traumatizing. It was depressing. I'm always a never give up kind of a person. So, I always tried to do things to make it better, read books, do memorizations. I had massive holes in my memory as part of this as well. So, just trying to read as many books as I can to try to help the situation. Now, during this process, I went to a concussion specialist, and she actually prescribed a medication called Vyvanse, which is supposed to basically help your cognition. It's like speed, basically. And then that didn't work after she increased the dosage of that. It was helping for a bit, and then it kind of tapered off and didn't work. And then she'd increase the dosage, and then it just didn't really work that much at all anymore. So then she prescribed Adderall. So I was on Adderall for a good long while. And once I stopped the therapy and all that and really looked into, like, why do I have to go to her to get this prescription? And then she has to send it to the pharmacy before I can get it filled. Like, it's different than any other medication that I had ever been on, right? And lo and behold, it's a class 2 narcotic. So it's actually a controlled substance like speed or cocaine or something. And so I'm like, wow, that's crazy. So I started reading the actual white paper on that, and, can cause a sudden death and heart attack and all this other stuff. I'm like, man, she never told me this stuff when she prescribed it. She just like, oh yeah, this is a pick me up, it'll work or whatever. So, and I'm not going to lie, it did help for sure. But again, it wasn't addressing the root cause of the problem or trying to at least get me to a state where my body could actually heal. It was just a Band-Aid, essentially. So, yeah. So to answer your question, it was devastating for me. And, I wasn't, like I said, wasn't somebody that really was depressive or in a state of mind like that. But it really got to me. Massive frustration and just not wanting to go out in public, especially once my head started jerking and things like that. It's, it's not like it's a big deal. But still, you don't want that to be the topic of conversation because it's probably going to be.
Well, I mean, that actually is a huge deal. I mean, what a change in your life that's unexpected and unwanted. So, how did you stumble upon the carnivore diet and ultimately come to healing?
That's a great question. It actually wasn't research on how to fix my brain. It wasn't actually how do I lose weight like most people. I have an autoimmune condition called vitiligo, and I was told that basically is sort of like a progressive type of a disease. You might be able to slow it, but it's probably just going to continue to get worse. There are expensive treatments, and there's some creams and things like that. The creams didn't really help me. The treatments were too expensive for me to even try. So, and at the time, I didn't understand that condition was really metabolic in nature. Right. So it was due to the injury that I was causing myself and decades of eating a poor diet, most likely. So yeah, that's how I came to the carnivore diet, was to research, how can I actually fix this? Because I'm kind of a DIY kind of person. So I went to YouTube University, like any red-blooded American will do, and try to find a way to fix this and bootstrap it. So that's when I found Joe Rogan, and he has the same condition.
For those who don't know what vitiligo is, can you please explain that?
Sure, absolutely. So I'm sure you've actually seen somebody with this. It's just a condition where your body doesn't produce melanin in certain spots of your skin. So it might be like, it just looks like white patches, basically, to some people. And I have it around my waist. Those are private photos. I don't show those. But it actually started to appear on my arms. And I thought, how long is it before this shows up on my face, right? And at the time, it's like, okay, now I'm going to get a double whammy. I'm going to have vitiligo on my face, and I'm going to have these motor tics where my head's jerking uncontrollably, like, oh my gosh, So I was just trying to figure out a way to stop it from spreading. It was more of a vain reason than anything, I guess, because it doesn't hurt. So like your whole body could just have this, and, at least from my perspective, you wouldn't feel any different.
Wow. So you started researching and listened to Joe Rogan, And then, so did you just decide that you were going to give it a try?
I did. So he said that he had vitiligo and went on the carnivore diet, and it started to reverse. I'm like, wow, that's crazy. And the other crazy thing is I had never heard of the carnivore diet at that point. I'd heard of Atkins. I'd done that in the past. I'd done many different weight loss programs trying to optimize my weight, and nothing really ever worked. It would come off and then it'd go right back on, and come off and go right back on. I was intrigued, like, carnivore diet, what is it? Sounds kind of kooky, right? It sounds like something a cat would do, or a lion or a tiger, not something that a human would do. And so I did a little bit of more research on YouTube and found Dante Ferrigno, Ferrigno Freedom. And the transformation that he had was just so profound and so convincing to me. And it didn't seem like he was selling anything other than, hey, man, this is what I did, and this is the results that I got. So his story is actually what inspired me to actually make the change. But it was Dr. Barry running into an MD that actually endorsed this way of eating, because I still had that past programming, that fat is going to cause heart disease, and it's going to cause all these other health issues, that you have to go low fat, and you have to have your fruits and veggies and all this. And here's this MD saying, no, actually, it's quite the opposite. And plants are actually not required. So I thought, wow, that's kind of kooky too. Well, I'm kind of kooky, so let's try this out. What do I got to lose, right? I love steak, so
It's a perfect match.
that's right.
So, what were you eating before carnivore?
Well, interesting you asked that question. So 2 years prior to going carnivore, I was eating a raw vegan diet. Yes, very surprising even to myself, because I cannot stand vegetables. But
Me
I had a
neither.
good reason. I had a good reason. It wasn't for health reasons. I didn't do it because I thought, oh, this is going to help cure me or anything like that. I had no thoughts of being able to ever cure anything or fix anything with my health. It wasn't even on my mind. That thought wasn't even there. So it was really just a matter of my business partner came down with prostate cancer, and he had a friend from 17 years prior that went on this protocol that he had written, and the guy was still alive. So Jay was like, hey, I think I'm going to try this to try to cure my cancer, or at least, help my condition. And I thought, wow, that sucks, man, having to eat all those vegetables. So, brother, I'll do it with you, right? Yeah, as an act of solidarity with him, I'm like, I'll do it with you, so you're not alone in this pain of eating this way. So I did it, and it sucked. I have never ate so many, like, bales of spinach and carrots and things like that in my life. And I did this for 2 years. So people, when they see, I'm going to fast forward just a little bit. So people, when they see the health conditions that I was able to heal eating a carnivore diet, they say, well, that's because you eliminated, right? You eliminated the sugar, the processed sugar and the processed foods and all this other stuff. It's like, no, actually did that 2 years prior to the carnivore diet. And my vitiligo actually was getting worse in that 2-year time frame. So I was actually on this raw vegan diet when I was like, okay, my vitiligo is getting worse. I need to do something about it. Then I did the research, decided I'm going to start a carnivore diet. Then I told Jay, I was like, hey, brother, I love you, but hey, they got steaks over here, and it might reverse my condition. So I got to do me. And he was cool with it. And that's one of the things that I don't share as much when we do presentations and things like that. The processed foods were gone. And I did lose weight on that, but still the inflammation was there. The plantar fasciitis pain was there. The depression and the anxiety was still there. All of these conditions were still there. The only thing that was really a benefit that I seen from eating that way was, yeah, I did lose a little bit of weight. I'd probably lost about 20 pounds, but that was it. That's all I was able to take off. And honestly, it was almost like starvation, You had to muscle through it mentally, because you'd have these hunger pangs, and I just couldn't eat enough mountains of lettuce to satiate my appetite.
There's not enough lettuce in the world to satiate anybody's appetite, I don't think.
Absolutely.
Oh gosh. Well, first of all, what a wonderful and loyal friend and business partner you are to do that for him. Seriously, that for 2 years, for a couple of weeks or something, but that's incredible. What effect on your brain trauma symptoms did that vegan diet have?
Really, honestly, nothing. I didn't notice any changes whatsoever in that 2 years. So 2017, the accident happened. I seen gradual improvements, minor, over the 2 years after that, going through all that therapy. And really at that point, it was like, that's it. It just kind of leveled off and it never really got any better. So from 2019 until 2023, when I started the carnivore diet, it was literally the same. I didn't really notice much of a difference in terms of the depression, the anxiety, and things like that, aside from the vitiligo. The vitiligo actually got worse. So, yeah, and then I started the carnivore diet, and it's like, wow, my body starts to wake up and it just starts to get wild from there.
So what was that transition like? Did you just suddenly go from vegan to carnivore? Or did you slowly move into it?
No, I went straight in. So both feet just jumped. That's the way I do absolutely anything and everything. If you talk to any of my friends, you'll know that's me. So if I say I'm going to do something, I just do it. And now that, looking back in retrospect, that might have not been the best decision, to be honest with you, because I had quite a bit of oxalate dumping from all of the spinach that I was eating. I didn't understand that I was going to have all this water flushing and electrolytes going with it. I should probably supplement electrolytes during that period. So I did get the keto flu. And because I had so much water flushing, I had diarrhea and stuff going on for like 3 or 4 weeks. And that part got to the point where I was like, okay, I'm going to go one more day. And if this does not clear up, like I might not even do this anymore. And the only thing that pushed me through that transition was I had plantar fasciitis, interestingly enough, the 2 years prior to starting this. That was almost crippling pain. I don't know, anybody that's ever had this, and whoever's listening to this, I'm sure you can relate if you have this. It's super painful, especially when you first get up in the morning. It takes a while just to get warmed up. But it was so bad for me that I could really only stand for about 30 minutes, and then I'd have to sit for like 2 hours. And
Mm.
even then, when I go stand back up, I'd have to warm back up a little bit and, before it would not be as painful. So I tried different prescription boots and shoes and rolling my feet with, frozen cans of pop, and not frozen, but cold cans of pop, and then, frozen things in the freezer to just try to relieve the pain from this plantar fasciitis. 3 days in to eating a strict carnivore diet, that pain started to go away. And 5 days in, it completely went away after 2 years of living with this. And I'm like, this is amazing. This is incredible. It's wild too, because I started this for completely vain reasons, right? For something that didn't even hurt. And here all of a sudden this is fixed. I'm like, wow, this is insane. Like I never thought this would ever happen. Didn't even dawn on me. So yeah, at that roughly 30-day mark with having issues in the bathroom, and contemplating, do I continue or not? That was the deciding factor for me to continue on with it. I'm like, man, if the changes are that profound, like I just need to stick with it. And obviously at that point, I had done a little bit of research to figure out that this is somewhat common for people if they just jump right in.
So you said that you had plantar fasciitis for 2 years prior to carnivore. Did the onset of those symptoms coincide with your vegan journey?
It very well could. My memory's a little hazy about roughly when it started and everything, but I'm sure if I really thought about it, or maybe even went back in time, I could probably link it to that. So yeah, it gradually just got worse and worse over that 2 years. And again, that was another condition that I thought this is going to be permanent. You can get shots on your feet, and I'm like, no, I can't even have somebody even just brush my feet, or I have this reflex, like I want to just kick them. So there's no way I'm going to let anybody like put shots and injections into my feet. So yeah, it was a total surprise. It was a pleasant surprise that went away in 5 days.
Gosh, and I just can't even imagine the oxalate dumping festival your body was going through. How long did you go through that process?
That was roughly 3 months of oxalate dumping. It was a weird pattern. It started at the base of my back in the center, and it went up my back, and then it split into two.
Hmm.
So, and then it came up and over my shoulders, and then came together, and then went down to my navel. Over that 3 months, it was like just going on a ride, I guess, or something. It wasn't really, it was annoying more than anything. It wasn't like super painful. It was itchy, and there was a visible rash in those areas, but it wasn't as bad as what some people have. And honestly, at the time, I really didn't know what it was until I was probably halfway through. And that's when I found Sally Norton's book on toxic superfoods talking about oxalate dumping. And I'm like, well, this is potentially what this could be. I mean, it could have been anything. I didn't go to the doctor to prove what it was, but it seemed to be something similar to the oxalate dumping.
So, how long were you eating carnivore before you started to see an improvement in brain symptoms?
That's a funny question. It's hard to answer that one because it happens so gradually over time. And it just, about 5 months in, I'm not, I don't have these motor tics anymore. Like my head's not jerking anymore in public. And then once I thought of that, I'm like, you know what? I'm not really having issues with balance and vertigo and headaches and things like that anymore either. So again, like this wasn't on my mind whatsoever that this was going to heal because I was told that this was permanent. So, I wasn't on the lookout for it, like trying to look for markers. Oh, yeah, well, today I'm able to stand longer with my eyes closed or whatever. There was none of that. I just avoided doing that, right? And I avoided situations that was going to cause me to have issues or symptoms of this. So I just avoided it until about that 5 month mark. And that's when I was like, oh, yeah, maybe I'll test this out and see how far I can go with this. And yeah, at that 5 month mark, I was like, okay, this is crazy. This is insane because it doesn't seem like I've got this problem anymore. I was still a little bit skeptical because mainstream medicine had told me this is permanent. But as the months went on, it didn't take long. I'm still in YouTube University. And at that point, I had started my YouTube channel. So I'm like super fired up and gung ho at this point, especially after that, realizing that this is gone. Like I feel like I'm back again.
Wow, that's really amazing. And it's also interesting how the changes were so gradual that it wasn't like one day you woke up and said, oh, hey, everything's great. But just day over day, you saw improvements. So, what made you decide to start a YouTube channel?
Good question. That was Carrie. I've always been entrepreneurial, I have my own businesses, and the thought had crossed my mind, start a YouTube channel and potentially be able to make a little side income from that. And, once I linked up with Carrie, he was like, yeah, man, you should do it. You should do it. And so I did. I made the leap. And I'll be honest with you. Initially, I thought this might be a way for me to share what I am passionate about and potentially make money. But really, it morphed into it doesn't matter about the money, really. It's just the word has got to get out to people, right? So I don't care if I make any money. I'm just passionate about helping people now. And honestly, all of my other entrepreneurial pursuits, I really don't want to do them anymore. Like, I just want to stay in this space to help people also unlock their cheat code for life.
Isn't that interesting how the majority of people on carnivore seem to have that same passion and outlook and just wanting to spread the word? So, you mentioned Carrie, and most people know who Carrie Mann is, but a lot of people may not. So, first of all, how did you meet Carrie and how did you get involved in helping him with this documentary?
Yeah. So early on in my carnivore journey, I think I was well, at that time, I think it was probably about 5 months in. I don't know. I'd have to go back and look at the timeline, but at any rate, he was, I think, 30 days in and he came out with a 30-day video on carnivore. And he just couldn't believe the results that he had. So at that point, I subscribed to his channel, and I don't remember how many videos it was later. He's like, we should do a documentary about this. Like, there needs to be a documentary. I don't even remember if he said he should do it. I think he just said there needs to be a documentary about this. And Emma was with him in the video. She's like, yeah, yeah. And I thought, that's exactly what we need, right? Like, people need to know about this. Not even thinking to myself, like, is there anything out there like that already? I don't know. So I was still so new. But at any rate, I was fired up. I was vibing with what he was saying. So I'm like, I'm going to try to send this guy a message, right? He had 70,000 subscribers. I thought, to me, that was like, oh my gosh, this is a massive amount. This guy's like super famous, right? 70,000. So I was like, I'll take a chance. I'll send him an email. And I just told him, hey, I'm an entrepreneur, a business owner. I've had employees. I know what it's like to have a good employee, be a good employee. And if you need help in doing this, if you're going to do it, I'll sweep the floors. I'll do whatever you need me to do. I just would love to be involved in it. I have professional experience with photography and not really in videography, but it's not that much of a leap. So here's my Instagram account and my portfolio and all that stuff. And lo and behold, 24 hours later, he got back with me and he's like, yeah, that sounds great. Sure, let's do it. Little did I know what I actually signed up for at that point, but it's been a wild ride since. And yeah, we're sort of like work husbands, I guess you could say.
Gosh, well, that was definitely providence that you saw his videos. And, I'm not surprised knowing Carrie that he responded so quickly to you. And just, I think that's the coolest story. And just your earnest passion to do this project is, yeah, that's so commendable. So, what's it like being on the Healing Humanity Project?
Oh, wow. That's a loaded question. I'll be honest, it's a lot of work. And initially, it's good work though, right? So I don't feel overloaded really at any point, but I mean, it's a lot of work, a lot of avenues and areas that I never expected to get into, like with legal contracts and release forms and NDAs and background checks and learning cinematography in general, and then developing a membership website and running that and managing some of the staff that goes along with that. We've just brought along a line producer. So yeah, it's a lot of work, and now we're in the editing phase. So it's a learning process. It's a big learning curve with every step of the way, but it's absolutely incredible. It's fun. So just a little tidbit. The editor sent us Act 2.1, his little rough edit. And man, I'm telling you, it's going to be good. This is going to be good. I'm a little biased, but yeah, I can't even put it into words. Like you said, providence. I feel like every step of the way in this process, at least with Carrie and myself, and I believe extended with our team as well. So like all of us came together at just the right time to do this. And I think this is going to be released at the perfect time to have maximum impact in helping people and inspiring people to regain of their health. And it's just hard to put into words. Like, I feel like we're along for a ride and we're just submitting to the process because things are just falling into place and it feels amazing.
Yeah, well, I would say good would be an understatement. You're not exaggerating at all. I mean, just the 2 trailers that you've put out have been fabulous, and I can't wait to see those stories. It's really exciting, and I think there's a lot of excitement in the carnivore community, and hopefully we can get that message out to just the general public. If nothing else, it's interesting. I mean, for somebody, I'm trying to step back and think about, okay, if I didn't know anything about this, hey, this bunch of people, are they Dain-Bramaged? Like, what is with these people that are going to go and eat a bunch of meat and do that? And what do you think about that? I mean, are we Dain-Bramaged?
Well, if you'd ask Carrie, he'd say that I never healed my brain image. So I might still have a little bit to go. But yeah, I honestly, I do. I think that society as a whole, they're just so insulin resistant and inflamed. And it's interesting you asked that question because I actually sort of asked this question to Dr. Georgia Ede as well, which, by the way, it's a mental health day. So shout out to Dr. Georgia Ede.
Georgia Ede. Oh, where's it? Hang on.
Yes, Change Your Diet, Change Your Mind. I love it. Fabulous book. So I actually asked her, I said, when people are eating essentially a standard American diet or standard Western diet, whatever you want to call it. Are they actually causing brain damage? And her answer was yes. People are actually causing brain damage by eating these highly inflammatory foods and starving their bodies of cholesterol and amino acids and all of these things that the body needs to reproduce cells and perform optimally. So I thought that was pretty profound that we equate damage to something like what I had, right? A traumatic brain injury or asphyxiation, lack of oxygen to the brain caused some sort of brain damage. She sort of redefined it. What we consume also causes brain damage.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I was listening to, I think it's Dr. Louise Nicola on an interview, and she was talking about just how we experience insults all of the time. All of these things, environmental, our food, all of those things are additional insults that damage our brain ultimately. And so thinking about that and just thinking about the public's perception of carnivore, I'm thinking about they view carnivore as an insult. You know, I, I think
Yeah.
that people are taken aback and how can we question the healthy diet and the wonderful food pyramid that was set up by all those very honest individuals so many years ago that have led us down this path? What is your take on that? Do you think that in general people feel insulted by carnivore?
That's a good question. I think the establishment does feel insulted by it, right? Because it doesn't go along with their narrative. And whether their narrative is good or bad is subjective to them. I believe that they may think that it's good. Is there nefarious things going on and they're trying to keep us sick and stuff like that? We'll never be able to prove that. But what we can prove is that we are able to make our own choices, right? So we can choose whether we believe these establishments and what they have come up with as what we're supposed to consume for optimal health or not, right? So I do feel like sometimes the term carnivore diet is a little off-putting to some people. So a lot of times I'll just use, low carb, high fat or zero carb diet or something like that, lifestyle. Because honestly, it's not just a diet in the popular culture sense, right, of just losing weight. So it is a lifestyle. I definitely view it as that. But yeah, I think society in general would be better as a whole if people actually took back control of their lives and stop seeking guidance and instruction from these institutions. Go with your gut in most cases, right?
Yes, I agree completely. And although I too have found tremendous healing with carnivore, I don't necessarily think that everyone needs to adopt a carnivore diet. But what I do wish is that everyone would be open to looking at that and the benefits and then stepping back and looking at their health. And like you said, taking ownership of it, not depending on those institutions to dictate what is healthy for them. And I think that if we can each take charge of our own health, that is just going to make a huge change for the better going down the road. Well, talking about that in health and nutrition, I understand that you have been getting some nutrition certification.
I have the nutrition network. So I'll be 100% honest with you. I am super, super pumped about this. Okay. But on the flip side, it's very, very difficult, this training. So I have found out after I signed up that this is essentially one of the top certifications in the world. It's a global certification. And I didn't fully comprehend that or understand that when Dr. Nelson said, hey, Nutrition Network has a half off deal for Black Friday. I had always wanted to learn more and delve into the academic side and the science and the biology behind why these physiological changes happen and these improvements happen eating this way. So I thought, this is great. I'm going to sign up. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't understand how difficult it was going to be. But hopefully in March, when they start their next cohort of one-to-one coaching, like you actually have to go through, I think it's 14 weeks, every single week with a coach, and you have to commit to that amount of time frame. And this is after you've already done roughly 100 hours of teaching. So I didn't understand that when I first signed up. I just thought it was like this online course deal. This is actually something that MDs, licensed physicians, will also go through, and it's effectively the same course. Just there's a couple tweaks in the beginning with the course. So that should tell you how intense this is. I just wasn't expecting that. I'll say that again. I'm actually going to be going through it again with Lynn on our team. She's going to be going through it as well. So I'll get a chance to really, hopefully it sinks in them. And then when I take my test, I should be able to pass. But it's a Nutrition Network advisor is what I am right now. And once I get my certification, I'll be a Nutrition Network practitioner. And I couldn't recommend that course enough. I mean, it's a wealth of knowledge, and the course teachers are absolutely fabulous. The whole network is amazing. I highly recommend anyone that's interested in this and learning more, definitely go that route.
Yeah, I think I want to talk to you more about that actually.
Sure.
So what do you see yourself doing? So you have your full-time job, and then you have your Healing Humanity, which is more than a full-time job, and you're doing Nutrition Network. Do you see yourself evolving into doing coaching, or what would you like to do?
Well, honestly, I already do sort of coaching on the side, and it's free. So I'm coaching a few individuals at a time. But, obviously this knowledge will help me to drive deeper into their health issues. Anything that I don't know, I'm always going to refer to somebody else that has more knowledge than myself or might be more specialized. Like, say, for instance, if they have a mental health issue or something like that, that I know that that's not necessarily my wheelhouse, I'll refer them to someone else. But the driving factor was twofold with the Nutrition Network was I personally want to dive into this to learn more, right? And that in turn would allow me to help people in a better way. And the other reason is part of healinghumanity.life, our membership website. We want to offer coaching. And as part of that, I wanted to have the working knowledge of what a coach knows and the experiences that they have and what they would have to go through in order to manage coaches, right? And allow them to come onto our platform. And I could know what to look for in terms of finding a good coach. At least give me a better chance of finding somebody that's qualified as opposed to, you know, without doing that, we would have to reach out to coaches and not fully understanding what all of these different certifications are and how intense they are, because some of them are very, very light, right? And it goes far beyond just the biological knowledge. It's how is the person actually how do they work with people, right? And we want to make sure that our people are taken care of and that they have a good experience. So as a whole, another reason why I want to go through this process, and not to say that we're actually going to offer that within Healing Humanity Life. The whole reason for doing this is to know if that's really even going to be a possibility for us later. So
Gosh, well, that's really cool. I think that would be a huge benefit to people to have that resource available. And I agree with you wholeheartedly. You need to definitely vet your coaches and make sure that they have the knowledge and also the people skills and the connection to be able to enact change and help people grow, because I'm a coach. But it's about them. It's not about the coach. And it's about, hey, how can you help people reach their potential, the things that they already have? And so I think that that's really exciting. And I think there can never be too many coaches. There's so many
absolutely.
people that need help. We all need help. We all need to be coached. So I commend you for taking on that certification. And I look forward to finding out if you guys are going to offer those things. I just think that's really valuable. So, okay, we're running low on time, but I try to ask this question to all my guests. And so I know you've been interviewed several times, and you've certainly conducted lots of interviews on your podcast, which is wonderful, by the way. If you have not listened to Carnivore today, you need to go listen to it because it's pretty awesome. But so is there something that you wish someone had asked you?
That's a good question. Wow. I don't know. Not really. I think it's usually if they don't ask me, I'll give up the information. But yeah, maybe ask me what Carrie is really like.
Adam, what is Carrie really like?
Well, Barb, how much time do you have?
Well, we can go on forever, like, hey, how much? Let's see, we can make this the extended version, the real dirt on Carrie Mann.
Right. Yeah. So Carrie is he's a fabulous man, fabulous father and husband. He's everything that everybody believes that he is. Watching his YouTube videos, obviously, nobody's perfect, but I've learned a lot from him and our whole team as well. So, this whole thing has been a huge plus for me. Even, I just can't say enough about Carrie and his leadership. And it's in a different way as well. It's more motivational, inspirational, level headedness, just keeping people focused on what we need to focus on. Yeah. So I will say a little bit of insider information is I have noticed he's actually somewhat of an introvert. So it doesn't seem that way, but in person, he's a little bit of an introvert. And I think in a lot of ways, I'd say probably most of us are.
Wow. Well, I can't say that I'm shocked that he is all of those things, least of which the introvert part, but just I think that Carrie really exemplifies a servant leadership. And I think that that is all the way throughout Healing Humanity and the way you come across and interact with people and the other people on the team that I've had the privilege of connecting with. And so I think that's really rare. And you guys have something special, and this documentary is going to be special. And even beyond that, so what's next? So we know the documentary is coming out probably next spring, but definitely next year. What else is in the works with Healing Humanity? And then anything else that you have going on personally that you'd like to share?
Yeah. So with the documentary, we're trying to finish the edit roughly by the end of the year. It may take a little bit longer than that. So we're definitely going to have a finished film in 2026. Beyond the shadow of a doubt, we're putting our foot down, and it's going to be done. It will be done. So then we start the marketing and distribution phase. So like I said, this is all a learning process for us. We do have some people that we can consult with that are within the industry. And what's interesting is the last meeting that we had with them, I said, hey, we're kind of green. We don't really know what's going on. And one of the ladies that we met with, she's like, oh, come on, you guys will be fine. So I took that as a great, that was a great boost to confidence that she feels like we're on the right track, even though we're green and we don't really necessarily fully comprehend and understand this path, that she has the confidence in us moving forward. So again, like that just feels like things are aligning and there's nothing to worry about. But beyond that, we're also looking to compile the series as well. So that's going to be another pretty big project in the process of this whole thing. So the film will be a hook for the series, and both of those will be a hook to get people into Healing Humanity Life, to put boots on the ground and actually take action for their life. And that's, we've been setting the foundation this whole time for people to actually come in and level up their health. So we're getting all of our ducks in a row and laying the bricks of the foundation. And we like to call that our good vibe tribe. So we're going to expand our good vibe tribe. And again, our goal isn't to get as many people in there as we possibly can or keep them as long as we can so we make a bunch of money. Get in, do your thing, figure out what you got to do, get yourself on the right path, stay if you want, but see ya, right? Like, go live your life, go spend time with your family and go do beautiful things. So that's, in a nutshell, that's basically where we are going with Healing Humanity. But there's other things on the horizon potentially starting a production company. And there's a couple film ideas that we have as well beyond that. So our minds are always going to create. So yeah, we're not going to divulge any of that stuff, but it's too far out to really talk about that, but that's potentially on the horizon.
Well, what you're doing is a beautiful thing. It really
Thank
is.
you.
Gosh, well, Adam, how can people find you?
Well, people can find me typically at Sam's Club in the meat department.
What time are
So
you there? Like, I'm going to stalk you.
yeah. So people can find me at Carnivore Today is my channel. Carnivoretoday.com is my web address. And that is currently, we're having a bunch of articles written there to basically walk people through the basics of the carnivore diet and get kickstarted there. You can sign up to be on an email list if you want. Healing Humanity Movie at Healing Humanity Movie on every single social media platform except for X, which is H documentary. And then our website is healinghumanity.movie. Membership site is healinghumanity.life. And yeah, if you need help with any of that, get it in the description.
Yes, I just might have you send something to me before I have too many H's and all
Right.
of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But yes, no, I will definitely put that in the show notes.
You asked, so I gave it to you. There you
You
go.
did. Thank you. Well, Adam, this has been so much fun talking to you. I really appreciate you and what you're doing. And I just can't wait to see what you guys are going to do next.
Well, thank you, Barb, for having me. It was an absolute pleasure and looking forward to checking this out and interacting with folks in the comments section.
So we'll see. And let's see, he's a little sleepy, but he's
Ah,
been
awesome.
eavesdropping the whole time.
Look at that. Amazing.
Have a great one.
You too, Barb. Thanks.